Hello, we've created this resource to explain the credit transfer process for all of the West Virginia Education Abroad programs and talking about how to get your courses to transfer back to West Virginia after you've had your adventure. So you'll see that you have a task in your exchange application called the course selection worksheet. Every class that you take abroad does count for West Virginia credit. It will show up on your transcript. And so this worksheet is a way to look ahead at the courses that will be offered while you're abroad, find the ones that work within your degree plan, and prove that it's a viable academic option for you to participate in this program. Our goal when you go abroad is that all of your courses you take abroad fit into your degree plan, that you're not having an extra semester adding to your timeline at West Virginia. Ideally, it would be seamless, and the classes you take abroad were things that you were going to need on campus anyway. You just get to take them in a different place. The most important thing to know in this process is that these equivalencies are based from the university registrar. They are not your best guess of what classes sound like. They're similar to West Virginia classes. They are not for your advisor to say, yeah, I think this would count. At the end of submitting this worksheet, we will show you how it needs to be verifiable through the university. So as we get started, as you start thinking about your classes, it's important for you to have an idea of the classes you're going to need to take either for the semester or the summer you're abroad. Some things that can help you make those decisions are looking at the advisor form that your advisor filled out in the advising request portion of the application. The other thing is to understand degree works and understand what classes you have to get credit for within your major, within your minor, and understand kind of what's left on your plate. To look for classes that will be available to you abroad, there are several resources that will help. We have access to all the courses that are available during your semester abroad, during your summer abroad, and a course catalog similar to how they're published at West Virginia. You will be looking through those course catalogs to see what will be available to you during your time abroad. If by chance the semester or the term you are going abroad is not posted yet, it is a general rule of thumb that you can use the same semester. Like if you're going fall in 2 years, you can use last year's fall course catalog and base your guesses of what's going to be offered based on that. So if you get to the course catalog for your host institution and the term you are going abroad is not listed, just get the same term, but either the year prior or 2 years prior. And then just start looking through the classes that are offered and make general lists of what you think would fit in that idea of what you want to take, the idea of what you need, and just start generating your list. Some tools to help you access these course catalogs. Every program that is an exchange through us has the brochure page, which I'm sure you're familiar with. They will have helpful tips such as a link to get to the course catalog. They will also have information of how the credits work. For example, showing is Bond University. Their classes, when you take it, it's 10 Bond credits. That does not mean that you're going to get 10 WVU credits for taking one class. There is a translation system and a conversion scale that's usually listed. Important to know that as you are looking through classes so that you have an idea of how many West Virginia credits you would get for that class. For affiliate programs, we do not have an individual brochure page for every program, but your affiliate provider does. So in the academics tab, usually there's a breakdown of classes offered, classes you can take, and how they are graded, how the credits would transfer. So use those as your resources as you start to think through these classes. The main tool we're going to use to look at classes is the transfer credit database. That is a database that the registrar's office uses at West Virginia to say every class that has been taken elsewhere and what it has counted for at West Virginia. So the first thing you should do is go into the database and look and see if any of the classes you're interested in have already been evaluated. To access this, it's through the registrar's website, registrar.wvu.edu/transfer. And there's a link to the transfer credit database. This does require an installer and a launcher. And then there's an alternative if you can't access or aren't on VPN. There's all of the data also in a huge Excel that you can also look through. So once you access this database, it will have you lots of ways that you can look through this massive amounts of information. We suggest going to search by location for international, and then you filter through to get to the school you were looking at going on. The affiliate programs might be listed as the international institution through this country, city, and school model, or it could be listed as a school of record. What school of record is if you are doing an affiliate program where you are taking classes at an educational center, or your teacher is traveling with you and you're not actually in a university classroom. Those teachers and those education centers have to be accredited by a school of record, someone that evaluates and accreditates them to make sure they're actually teaching quality material. So, for example, some of our affiliate programs are listed on the slide. These would be listed as U.S. institutions. So you won't find these under your international country. Instead, these would be based on the school of record for these programs. Again, can be kind of tricky because if you're doing, for example, an AIFS program at the University of Valencia in Spain, it will be listed as University of Valencia in Spain. However, if it's an AIFS Education Center of London, that would be Fairfield University under Connecticut. So once you have figured out where the location of your schools would be listed, you click Get Results. And if there have been any courses at this university that have already been evaluated, they will populate an example shown. On the left are the name, the university, the codes of how their classes are titled. And then to the right is what West Virginia has deemed the equivalent as. You might see some listed as specific courses. For example, Accounting 451 at the bottom. That's a direct equivalent. Other options are these like 100 level TC. That is transfer credits. So that's a more general process of saying this is equivalent to a 100 level class at West Virginia. You will see them 1 TC, 2 TC, 3 TC, all the way up to 4 TC. This class is equivalent to a 400 level class at West Virginia. Little note on the side, you can ignore the credits in the database. We go based off of the equivalencies that are on those brochure pages on the academic program descriptions that I talked about earlier. They are set for every university that we go to, and they do not differ by course.
Perfect. So if your class has not already been reviewed, meaning that it's not already within this transfer database system, then that means that we haven't had a past WVU student have the course reviewed, so we need to have it reviewed. And one of the ways that we do this is definitely through the transfer equivalency review request. We call it TERR, T-E-R-R, and it is a ticketing system, okay? And it's housed right on the registrar's website in the same drop-down menu where you access the transfer credit database. So you click and you open the TERR ticketing system, and you'll need to submit 1 ticket per syllabus, right? We're getting a class abroad reviewed, and we do that by submitting the syllabus. So for each syllabus that you have, you submit 1 ticket. The syllabus will be sent to the academic department at WVU, who reviews it and then tells us how it transfers back. So an example, if you're taking a psych course at Bond University, when you submit that psych syllabus for evaluation, they send it to the psych department here at WVU. So it is reviewed through the academic departments. If you're applying for an affiliate program, once you have started the affiliate application, you have access to all of the syllabi that are offered for that program. If you're doing an exchange with us, then sometimes they don't always have their syllabi ready for download on their websites. And in that instance, you'd want to reach out to either Laura and I, and we can help gather the syllabi for you. It is important to note that TERR will never deny a syllabi review. The only reason that they could deny it is if there's not enough information in the syllabus to be reviewed. And in that case, that's when you come back to us and we'll seek out a more robust syllabus to submit. Otherwise, it's always going to come back one of 2 ways. Here is a nice screenshot of a response after a syllabi has been reviewed through the TERR system. As you can see, Michael Weber commented on this service request. Michael Weber is who runs the TERR system. And it says, "Dear student, this course does not have a direct equivalency and comes in as History 3 TC. So as Laura said, when classes are reviewed, it does happen that WVU does not teach that same exact class here on our campus. And then that's when we have transfer credits. For example, of course, this one is a history credit. It's at the 300 level and it's a transfer credit. That's TC. TCs can work within your degree works. You just want to touch base with your academic advisor to see how you can move it around, right? Your advisors can move classes to fulfill certain requirements within your degree works. And this is an instance where you have a transfer credit and those are freely are moved around in your degree works. So touch base with your academic advisor. Whenever you submit your education abroad application with us, with WVU, Laura and I verify that all of your classes have been reviewed by looking in that same database that you just used. So it is important that you do have the course reviewed. Once you have all of your course reviews back from the TER system, that means that you're ready to go ahead and start and complete the course selection worksheet. That's a part of your WVU application. On this course selection worksheet, you'll see 4 columns. The first column, course selection. As you can see in the example, this is where you're going to list the name of the course abroad. And then the second column is how many credits is it worth abroad? Again, you'll need to refer back to our brochure page under the academics tab because there will always be a credit conversion there. In this instance, at ECTS, European Credit System, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So we know a class at 6 ECTS is going to come back as 3 WVU credits. In the third column, anticipated WVU equivalent, this is where you put TER's response. So this is a great example of a transfer credit. Perhaps you have a different COM class reviewed and it comes back as a direct equivalent and it says maybe this is COM 361. That's also where you would put direct equivalent. So no matter what TER tells you, this is where you're going to list it in that third column. It's important to know how the credits transfer because you're going to want to make sure that you're a full-time student. That means 12 WVU hours for undergraduate students and 9 WVU hours for graduate students. We ask you that you list your preferred courses in this top chart, at least 12 WVU credit hours. And then under alternative course options, we do ask that you have 1 or 2 backups in place. This is because schedule changes happen quite often at universities, at WVU, and of course, this is true for all of our partner institutions as well. Once you arrive at your host institution and there's a schedule change, we've already selected 1 or 2 backup classes that work well in your schedule, so you can mitigate all of the stress of trying to coordinate between time zones with us and with your academic advisor. So do make sure that we have some alternative courses listed. Once you've filled this out, you've gotten all your TER reviews back, you filled out this form, you're going to send it to your academic advisor who will sign it for you, and then you upload it onto your WVU application with us. The one instance where you will not need to submit syllabi to have them reviewed through WVU is when you have open electives. Now, there's a difference between open electives and technical electives. Technical electives have a lot of flexibility, but they need to be within a certain domain. For example, in your degree works, it could say you have 6 credits of technical electives in a science. So we have flexibility, but it has to be within a science. For that, we need to get it reviewed through TER to make sure it comes back as a science course. Now, open electives means you have room to take whatever course you want. It doesn't matter the level. So it's any course that you wish to add to your academic story, right? And that's the instance where we do not need to have a syllabi reviewed. If you have totally open electives and you can choose whatever you want, our way of signaling this on the course selection worksheet is no EQ. All classes that you take abroad come back with credits. No matter what, the credits come back. So putting no EQ says to the registrar, it doesn't matter what subject it's in, and it doesn't matter what level, we just want those credits back. If you have a course that you want to fulfill a GEF requirement, you will need to submit the syllabus, sort of like technical electives, how we have to make sure it's within a certain domain, like a science elective. We do want to make sure that that class you're taking does fall within the GEF category, so that's when we will still have it reviewed. Again, the only time we don't is when it's a completely open elective and you have freedom to choose whichever course you would like. So at this point, you've been through the TER process, you've had your courses reviewed, unless you have open electives, and you've had it signed by your WVU advisor, you've submitted it to that WVU application, and we have accepted you. After your acceptance, then you're going to want to submit a study abroad transient credit form. The big difference here is the TER process is not specific to individual students. Even though you're submitting them, they're open to all WVU students. And that's why we can look back at past reviews and apply them to you, right? It's just generally how this course transfers back. What the study abroad transient credit form does is says to the registrar, me, this specific student, is going to be taking this course in transient, and your advisor gives you permission to do so. So the transient credit form is very important to specify you're taking these credits abroad. So you can fill out this form after you've been accepted by WVU Abroad and committed. And it's very similar to the course selection worksheet. So in some ways will feel a little repetitive, but keep in mind they're two different purposes, right? Once you have filled out the transient credit form, and again, it's going to be linked on your application after you've been committed, you'll fill it out with the classes that you're taking abroad, and then you'll send it to your academic advisor. Your academic advisor is the one who will submit it to the registrar on your behalf. And you will get a confirmation email once it's been processed saying that your transient credit form has been accepted, and that'll come from the registrar themselves, Taylor Richmond. If you get abroad and you need to use one of your alternative courses, meaning you need to change up your preferred course list and you need to take one of your backup ones, you do need to resubmit this transient credit form. It has to match exactly how your transcripts match at the end of your mobility, at the end of your exchange period. So if you do alter your classes from your original form, we do just resubmit it. And you will again get a confirmation email from the registrar's office saying that it has been accepted. When you come back from your mobility, you will already have had this transient credit form, which is also used for financial aid purposes. And then the only other thing we need to transfer your grades back is going to be your transcript. If you still have some questions about picking out your classes, getting them reviewed, we are here to help. A good email to reach us at is educationabroad@mail.wvu.edu. We all monitor this email account and would be very happy to help if needed. Thanks, everyone.